Hello everyone, back tuning into today's first video. We are doing the first summer 2020 seasonal model roundup for today's first video. So normally we will be doing an analogs update for the summer as our first video on this Sunday morning, but I got a bit behind with everything this week, so I didn't have time to get the analogs together. So I thought instead of doing that, we would do a seasonal model roundup for the summer. We're going to get something like 11 or 12 long-range models together. You're going to see what they're all showing for the first time this season. And yeah, I'll get on that for you very shortly, and it'll be quite interesting, I think, to see what these models are showing in terms of the broad model consensus for the summer of 2020. The normal analogs updates will, of course, resume next week. Just to say that coming up later on today, we'll have Galsworthy's Sunday Roundup. So that's going to be your usual eclectic mix of this and that for your Sunday afternoon viewing pleasure. And we're also going to begin the countdown to Easter as well. The full Easter period is now within the time frame of the extended GFS, so I'll have the first Easter 2020 update for you later on this afternoon, probably early this evening. This video is going to be quite a longish one, as always, with the long-range stuff, so if you can't watch it all in one go, don't worry, it will be kept on the summer updates page indefinitely, and there'll be a written summary that goes with the video as well on the summer updates page, so you'll be able to have a watch of the video on demand whenever you want, and also have a read of that written summary. So, without further ado, I've got to say a big thanks, by the way, to our good friend Richard Trott for the Summer 2020 Updates GIF. And thank you, Richard, for that. And without further ado, let's get on with the first Summer 2020 Season 1 Roundup. So, we're beginning with the Brazilian model. I haven't got the JMA for this update, by the way. That will come on stream next month, but we have got the Brazilian model to start off with, and this is 500 millibar heights for May, June, July, so only covering early to midsummer period, if you like. It doesn't yet cover the full summer 2020 period. So this one always does things a little bit different, always does things the other way round to most 500 millibar height anomalies maps. So blue is extrapolated to high pressure, with the lighter colours, yellow, orange and red, extrapolating to low pressure. So it looks like the Brazilian model is forecasting some sort of area of above average heights in the middle of the Atlantic for this early summer period. That's a bit of a mid-Atlantic ridge with lower pressure, looking like it's coming through here. And maybe hints of a bit of trough over Scandinavia as well. So I'm not sure that's a tremendously good anomaly, really, for May, June, July. It could be rather cool. It could be rather unsettled as well. Does look like there's weak pressure anyway underneath this main ridge, which is in the North Atlantic. It looks like we've got weak pressure through here, and possibly a trough just there, and maybe another trough just there. So overall, I'm not sure it's a particularly good anomaly to start off with. It could be rather cool. It could be rather unsettled. Now, the model itself, the Brazilian model itself, is forecasting above average temperatures for this early to midsummer period. So it is going for quite a warmish sort of early summer. And precipitation-wise, it looks wetter than average to our east. So generally across northern Europe, it does look a bit unsettled, actually. So yes, I think the Brazilian model could be hinting at something a little bit more unsettled for the early summer period, and although it is going for above average temperatures, I think it could be a rather coolish scenario as well, with a mid-Atlantic ridge in the mix. So that's not a very good one to start us off, but let's move on. We're going to go north from Brazil to Canada, and this is the mean sea level pressure anomaly for summer 2020. All other models from this point onwards, by the way, will cover the full summer 2020 period, so you won't be doing any more messing around with being short of full summer. This, from now onwards, from this model onwards, every model that you see is going to cover the full summer 2020 period. So this is mean sea level pressure anomaly from CANSIPS, and it looks like it's going for some sort of area of above average heights again in the North Atlantic. Not a particularly strong ridge, but definitely slightly above average heights look like they're there through the middle of the Northern Atlantic. It's going for above average temperatures for this summer. It's from tropicaltidbits.com, by the way. Above average temperatures in much of Northern Europe, actually, this summer, and precipitation wise just close to average, so a warmer than average summer, quite a warm summer with near normal precipitation. Then we move on to the probability maps from International Research Institute for Climate and Society, part of Earth Institute and Columbia University. So temperature probability for the summer of 2020 is coming out with slightly above average probability for much of the UK. So not a particularly strong signal. Actually, many other northern parts of Europe have a stronger signal for, or stronger probability for temperatures to be above average, as does the majority of Europe. We're actually one of the coolest areas in Europe in terms of the probability. But even then, we're still forecast to have a very weak probability of being above average. And precipitation-wise, a rather drier than average summer being predicted here as well from the IRI probability map. So probability is favouring a slightly above average temperatures this summer and a drier than average summer as well. This is Ptolpeng's analogue for the summer of 2020. Ptolpeng, of course, working under the umbrella of NOAA, so we go from Canada to the United States. And what Ptal does is looks at the sea surface temperature anomalies in any given month, in this case in February just gone, and then creates an analog-based forecast based on that, on those sea surface temperature anomalies. So the 200 millibar height anomaly from Ptolpeng is going for below average heights out to our northwest. Above average heights are down to our south-southwest. Bringing the wind from a south to southwesterly direction, therefore. Probably quite a warmish summer, but could be a little bit on the unsettled side, particularly for northern parts of the country. Temperature anomalies are forecast to be very warm this summer, with Ptolpeng's analogues in those red shaded colours, which on the scale is around 1 to 2 degrees above average. So that's a pretty warm summer, actually, quite a hot summer being forecast by Ptolpeng there. And precipitation-wise, though, a little bit on the unsettled side, in fact, slightly above average rainfall is being forecast, especially for northern parts of the country. So, yes, it could be quite a warm summer, but maybe a volatile summer with spells of rain, and dare I say it, with warm temperatures, perhaps the chance of some thundery outbreaks. CFS-V2, 700 millibar height anomaly for summer 2020 looks like this. So it's going for above average heights to be sitting over and to the east of the country and also to our north as well. Looks like there's some sort of trough around here in the middle of the Atlantic that will probably leave us drawing up quite warm southerly winds actually. For the summer of 2020. It's going for above average temperature anomalies across many parts of Europe. Actually, we're on the periphery of that, so some parts of the UK and Ireland have average precipitation anomalies. Most parts of Europe are sort of in those orange to red shaded areas, which is up to half a degree to 1 degree above average, and then 1 to 2 degrees above average in the red areas. So quite a warmish summer being predicted by CFS-V2, many parts of Europe. Precipitation-wise, relatively weak signal, so central parts of Europe and Western Europe, so Germany in particular, through to the Low Countries, and also back towards Poland as well. Those areas are a little bit drier than average. For the UK, we're sort of on the periphery of this quite a bit, I think. So some parts of southeast England have a weak signals to be slightly drier than average. Northern and western parts of Scotland look a little bit wetter than average. Again, it might be one of those times that's a little bit volatile. So again, the model is forecasting high pressures to be through here in this sort of area, really, with a trough of low pressure around here, and that could leave us drawing up southerly to southwesterly winds, which may be quite warm. In fact, there may be plumes at times, being hot weather to our shores, but also could be quite volatile. Dare I say it, risk of thunderstorms. ECMWF looks like this. So this is a mean sea level pressure anomaly from the ECMWF for the summer of 2020. And the model is going for low pressure to be to the north of Scotland. Otherwise, not much else to go. There's some higher pressure over towards Newfoundland. Looks like we're probably just bringing in a rather flat westerly flow there. Again, very weak signals from the ECMWF in terms of the mean sea level pressure anomaly for this summer. Temperature anomalies from the ECMWF are looking like that, so colder than average to our west, warmer than average to our east. We're sort of in between. So not a particularly hot summer being forecast, actually, by the ECM. We're just on the periphery, similar to the CFS really, just on the periphery of what is quite a warm Europe, but it is a bit on the cool side actually out in the Atlantic. And precipitation-wise, again, very weak signals, so it's going for wetter than average conditions to be to our north, drier than average conditions to be to our southwest, and we're somewhere in between with no particular signal. So very, very weak signals from the ECM for this summer. Moving on to Meteo France, and this is from Copernicus, of course, Copernicus.eu. So this is mean cell pressure anomaly from Meteo France this time, and the model is forecasting above average pressure, some higher pressure during summer 2020 to be out to our west in the North Atlantic, low pressure up towards Greenland, Iceland, winds from the west, doing something a bit like that. So we expect a relatively dry summer with high pressure sitting just to our west, but not necessarily all that warm, though the model does go for quite significantly above average temperatures through much of northern Europe, up to half degree to 1 degree above average in those orange shadings. Anyway, certainly a warmer signal, much of northern Europe, UK is included, compared to the ECM. But precipitation-wise, it's actually drier than average to our west and southwest, wetter than average up to our north. I think Meteo France just has a little bit more of a high pressure type signal for this summer compared to the ECM. This is DWD, the German model, and this one has a mid-Atlantic ridge and hints that it might be trying to get itself up towards Greenland for the mean civil pressure anomaly the summer 2020. Otherwise, again, not much happening, very weak signals, not much to go on. Temperature anomalies don't look particularly exciting. This is more in line with what the ECM is showing. So again, cold average out to our west in the Atlantic. Much of eastern and southern Europe looking quite warm. We're sort of in that white shaded area, so that's no signal, average or no signal. Bit in between, but probably a little bit on the cool side, if anything, with the DWD. Precipitation also looks quite weak. Above average precipitation to our north, drier than average precipitation to our south. We're sort of in between in a bit of a no man's land. But I think the DWD is probably closer to the ECM and just hints maybe at a rather more unsettled type summer, particularly compared to Meteo France. And then we've got the CMCC, finally, for the Copernicus suite of models. This is the Mediterranean model, of course. This one looks more unsettled, actually. This is the mean sea level pressure anomaly for summer 2020 from CMCC. And it's going for a bit of blocking up towards Greenland, a little bit of a northern blocking signal there. Low pressure out to the northwest of Scotland. It just all looks a little bit cool and a little bit unsettled, I have to say, with the CMCC. Temperature anomalies, again, not particularly exciting, only average, colder than average out to our west. So it's either average or no signal, really. And does hint at being a little bit above average with precipitation as well. So this is definitely a cooler and more unsettled type model. Particularly compared to Meteo France. Really, a lot of these European models are, I think, inching towards something a little bit cooler and a little bit more unsettled for this summer. Meteo France looks the best in terms of drier, warmer conditions, but the other three, ECMWF, DWD, and the CMCC, I think they're all sort of inching in the same direction, which is something a little bit more unsettled and maybe a little bit cooler for this summer. We'll see what the UK Met has to say in a moment. Then we've got JAMSTEC. So this is a temperature anomaly from JAMSTEC for summer 2020. It's the Syntex F model. Yes, we're going for above average temperatures here, not just for the UK, but through many parts of Europe as well. In fact, much of the world, much of the Earth is actually looking really warm during this summer, you would have to say. On the temperature scale, we're sort of 1 to 1.5 degrees above average, I think. So pretty warm summer, if not quite a hot summer being forecast there by JAMSTEC. And driving average too. So this is definitely one of the models that's going for a rather drier and hotter summer compared to some of them that we've seen in this update, which is quite unusual for JAMSTEC. Normally JAMSTEC is one of the colder models, tends to be one of the colder models, especially early on when you're around 3 months away from a season. Tends to have below average temperature, so quite unusual there with JAMSTEC to be that hot and dry, but to definitely go for quite a warm, dry summer with Jamstec. The Beijing Climate Center 500 millibar height anomaly next for summer 2020. Looks like that, so it's going for above average heights to be sitting to the south of the country, below average heights up to the north. We're in a rather flat westerly type pattern. So the Beijing Climate Center predicts temperature anomalies actually to be a bit on the cool side, which is a little bit of a theme with some of these models, I have to say. And it's quite unusual. Normally they're all going for really warm conditions, above average temperatures, but this update, actually, we've had quite a few here that have certainly been no better than average and possibly hint at something a little bit cooler. And the Beijing Climate Center is another one of those that's doing that. So there's the UK and Ireland just there. And we certainly look no better than average for the temperature anomaly and could even be ever so slightly on the cooler side, especially for western parts of the country. And a bit of a north-south split with precipitation from the Beijing Climate Center, indicative of the pattern. So to our south, it's very significantly drier than average, particularly down towards Spain, but just in towards parts of England and Wales, it's a little bit drier than average. But further north, it's actually a little bit wetter than average. Of course, that is indicative of the pattern, which is going for high pressure to be down here and low pressure to be here. And it just leaves us in a rather flat westerly flow. And of course, westerlies in summer are not going to be particularly warm. Westerlies in winter will be very mild. Westerlies in summer are actually going to be relatively cool. It's quite a cool wind direction to be westerly in the summer. So that's why the temperature anomaly with Beijing Climate Center is a little bit disappointing. But with this pattern of the Azores high just to our south and low pressure up to the north, it means that we get a north-south split in terms of precipitation. And then finally, we've got the UK Met Office, GLOSY 5, and this is the mean sea level pressure anomaly from GLOSY 5 for summer 2020. And yes, we see that model is actually going for high pressure to be sitting across many northern parts of Europe. Low pressure is pushed out to the northwest around Greenland and Iceland with jet stream. Jet streams push northwards as well. That does not look like a bad mean sea level pressure anomaly at all if you want a drier and warmer summer. Temperature anomalies are a little bit above average with the UK Met Office model. And precipitation anomalies overall favouring rather drier conditions. You notice the wettest conditions generally away to our north and west. Much of the UK and Ireland actually slightly drier than average. Not a bad summer there if you want warmer and drier conditions for the summer of 2020. So it is a mixed bag, and you expect that, of course, because we're a long way from summer. But putting all of it together, I think really we have to say that we haven't got much of a signal here. We have a few of the models that are going for a rather warmer, drier summer, and a few of the models are actually hinting at quite a coolish sort of summer, and a little bit on the unsettled side. So I'm not sure it's quite a 50-50 split between the two scenarios, but certainly neither scenario is favoured enough to say that yes, that's the overall expected outcome. So I think we just say that it's an interesting start, and it is quite unusual that we would have so many models that are forecasting a relatively coolish and slightly unsettled summer. We're not really on the unsettled side, that's not unusual, but for so many models to be forecasting sort of only average type temperatures and one or two of them to be hinting at something a little bit colder is quite unusual at this stage. So we'll see what models have to say in April. Of course, we'll do another seasonal model roundup in April. That will be on the last Saturday of April. We won't be missing out any more analogs, I wouldn't have thought. So the second season model roundup summer of 2020 will be on the last Saturday of April, and then we'll do a third and final one on the last Saturday of May. Right then, so this video will be placed on the summer updates page. There'll be a written summary that goes with it as well. You'll be able to watch the video on demand, have a read of written summary, and I'll get that up for you this evening. We're going to have Galsworthy's Sunny Roundup coming up for you later on this afternoon. It'll be just around just after lunch. It'll be your usual eclectic mix of this and that. And then, of course, as I say, we're going to have the we're going to begin and have the countdown to Easter, the first Easter update. We'll be with you this evening, probably around 7ish, I would have thought. Something like that, maybe 6 to 7. will begin the countdown to Easter 2020. Of course, all of the events updates are off for this summer at the moment due to the coronavirus, but we are going to continue to do forecasts for the bank holiday weekends. The first one of those coming up tonight will be the Easter update. Right, 20 minutes for video. Thanks for watching. We'll be back later on with Gareth Weathers' Study Roundup, so come back to that later. That's all for now, though, and thanks for watching.